You ever pretend to be someone you're not, just to feel liked? Smarter, cooler, more together. Finn does exactly that, and for a moment, it works. But pretending always comes with a cost, because the more you fake it, the more the real you disappears. And luckily, Finn also shows us how to deal with it before it's too late. The episode starts when Finn and Jake are on their way to the Candy Kingdom, where Princess Bubblegum is throwing something called a science barbecue. And Finn, he's carrying a handmade gift.
It's a scale model of the Candy Kingdom, made out of my saliva.
It's weird, but it's authentic. It's Finn. And he's bringing it to win her heart over.
You think it's sciencey enough for her?
Relax, she'll love it.
Princess Bubblegum is already lighting up the grill with flambeau when they arrive.
Oh, I made you something.
Finn presents his sculpture proudly, but just as PB closes her eyes to admire it, she sneezes, and the bubble masterpiece pops in an instant. But she doesn't even notice. Instead, she thanks him for the tray it was sitting on, mistaking it as the gift. And that stings in that quiet way that happens when someone misses the thing you cared about most. Before Finn can dwell on it, chaos breaks out. Chet and Peppermint Butler get into an argument and knock over the entire grill. Luckily, Finn is there to save the day. Everyone cheers, and Princess Bubblegum, impressed by his reflexes, asks him to speak at her barbecue.
Your heroic brain is fascinating in a scientific way. You should talk about something too. You'll do that for me, right?
It should feel like a win, like he did something right. But inside, Finn still feels like he missed the mark. He was brave, but not smart, not scientific, not impressive in the way he wants to be.
I can't hang with those guys. I'm full of stupid.
Because this is where his real insecurity lies. He's not worried she won't like him for who she is. He's worried who he is just isn't enough. This taps into something very real, especially for anyone who's ever been a preteen trying to impress someone older, cooler, and impossibly out of reach. And so, in that awkward, chaotic Finn way, he scrambles to fix himself. Not by being himself, but by becoming someone he thinks she wants him to be.
Then we'll just borrow some brains by going to the place where knowledge lives!
He tries to fast-track his way there, with Jake's help, of course. The two try to study, but boredom overcomes them.
Hey, Finn, let's split. This turned out to be boring.
And after making too much noise, they're kicked out of the library. Then they stumble upon a college. For worms. Yep, Worm College. A classroom full of tiny, wriggly, soon-to-be professors. But it turns out that Finn is not a worm, strangely enough, so he's kicked out.
Are you even in this class, Mr.
Wormy? Wormy McSwormy.
But Finn's not done looking for shortcuts.
Oh, let's just solve this thing with magic.
No, that's the easy way out.
Yeah, it's the easy way out.
They consult Choose Goose, who just hands over the glasses of Nerdicon, an ancient artifact that makes the wearer hyper-intelligent. No school, no studying, just instant intelligence. The exact thing Finn and Jake need.
So, I just put those on, and then I'd be able to give that lecture, and Princess Bubblegum will totally dig it. Yeah!
But Choose Goose wants something in return.
What do you want for it, CG?
Entertainment. Which is really all that Finn and Jake always have to offer anyway. Finn puts the glasses on, and everything changes. Suddenly, he can process complex data, calculate cosmic equations, and speak like a walking encyclopedia. He sees the world through formulas and probabilities. It's exhilarating. It's empowering.
Everything small is just a small version of something big. I understand everything.
But here's the thing about shortcuts. They often bypass more than just effort. They bypass growth. They bypass humility. They bypass the awkward, messy experiences that shape who we are and how we become who we are. In Finn's case, the glasses don't just make him smarter, they make him colder, sharper, more distant, less Finn. Because when you force yourself to become what you think someone else wants, you don't just gain knowledge.
I know exactly how to impress the princess.
You risk losing yourself in the process.
Those spit bubbles were as fragile as my old perception of reality.
And what will happen after you lose yourself is even worse. The barbecue begins.
Now for a special guest lecture by one of Oo's greatest heroes, Finn the Human!
Finn shows up, glasses on, voice sharp. He's not nervous anymore. He's confident, controlled, calculated. At first, it seems like it's working. He's showing off his intelligence, talking about multi-dimensional stuff.
I'm here to talk about multi-dimensional bubbles.
The crowd stares in awe, except for PB, who is just confused at his act. The jokes are gone. The silliness? Replaced by sterile logic. Finn's energy, the warmth, the wonder, it's missing. Even his posture has changed, upright and stiff. He's not connecting with anyone because he's too busy performing. That's the risk we take when we fake who we are. Even when it works, it feels hollow. You can win people's admiration and still lose their affection or their respect. Then it escalates. Finn unveils his custom-made bubble blower. With each setting, he demonstrates another dimension. 2D, 3D, 4D. But the 4-dimensional bubble he creates becomes unstable. It casts a 3-dimensional shadow that warps and bends the air around them.
Finn, that would mean you've created...
Yes, a black hole!
And this is where the metaphor lands hardest. Because how many of us, in our pursuit of being better, end up pushing people away? We trade vulnerability for superiority, humility for certainty. But the more we perfect the image, the further we drift from who we actually are, and potentially, the more destructive we become. The crowd screams. The Candy Kingdom gets pulled towards it. And Finn? He just laughs. Not because he's evil, but because he thinks he's in control. He pulls out a list, confident that he can fix it. But the list just gets sucked into the void. Princess Bubblegum yells for him to stop. And Finn? He doubles down.
He's giving us euphoric altered awareness. Don't you see, Princess? We were all born to die!
It's terrifying. Not just because he's risking everyone's lives, but because he stopped being Finn. He's not brave anymore. He's obsessed. Obsessed with being the smartest, the most impressive, the perfect version of himself.
I'm like the smartest guy I knew, thanks to these glasses.
And that's when PB cuts through the madness.
Please! I need the real you!
She removes the glasses. And just like that, the zoom out begins. The superintelligence drains. The confidence vanishes, though the black hole still looms. And Finn is just Finn again. Afraid. Panicked. Real. PB shows him the bubble blower he ruined everything with. And Finn does the one thing he's always done. He grabs his beloved golden sword and stabs the device. The sword begins to twist, to glow. It warps into something else, something fourth dimensional. And Finn knows what he has to do. He doesn't have to be a scientist.
Don't do anything stupid!
I'm all about stupid! Yeah!
He has to be a hero. So he leaps towards the black hole, sacrificing the one sword he's carried through countless battles, the one that's been with him since the beginning. It's not just a weapon, it's a symbol of who he was. And letting it go? That's Finn's way of saying, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be me. It's a quiet moment, but it lands like thunder. Because there's nothing more courageous than choosing to be yourself, especially when it's easier to be someone else. And what's left? Finn, the real one. The boy who just wanted to impress someone, who learned that pretending to be perfect doesn't make you loved, it just makes you alone. He saves the day. Barely. The barbecue is ruined. The science was a disaster.
Finn, my science barbecue was a fiasco.
Or so they think. That's when all the audience members cheer, and the bulleted list from earlier lands in PB's hands. And she smiles.
Make hyperbubble, cause black hole. PB takes off the glasses, win the heart of the princess. You knew all this would happen?
Because staging something like this to make PB like him? That sounds like something the real Finn would do. PB smiles. She leans down and kisses Finn on the cheek. And he faints. And that's the ending. Not because he became smarter, or cooler, or someone else entirely, but because, in the end, he was just himself. That's what makes this episode so powerful. Because we've all been there. Trying to be better for someone, addressing differently, talking differently, pretending to know things we don't, hoping that if we just fake it hard enough, we'll finally feel like enough. But that's not growth. Real growth isn't about changing who you are to fit into what you believe someone else wants you to be. It's about uncovering who you already were underneath all that fear and insecurity and being okay with that. Finn didn't need the glasses to impress PB. He didn't need a new brain or a new version of himself. He just needed some courage. The courage to be awkward. The courage to not know the answer. The courage to throw himself into the void, literally, and to hope that his heart was enough. And that sword he gave up? That's not just an action set piece. That was Finn's golden sword, Scarlet, the one in every promo image, the one that defined him. Letting it go? That's the moment the show quietly says goodbye to the child Finn once was. Because growing up means letting go of the symbols that we've outgrown. Not with resentment, but with gratitude. Finn's journey in this episode is something almost all of us go through. We want to be liked. We want to be enough. But we think that maybe if we change ourselves, we'll finally deserve someone's affection. But the real truth? You don't need to be smarter. You don't need to be cooler. You don't need magic glasses, because the most lovable version of you is the one that's already there. A little awkward, a little messy, but brave enough to be real. That's who people remember. That is who people connect with. And that is the version of you worth growing. If you've ever tried to change yourself just to fit in, just to be accepted, then you'll want to see this next one. Because the characters in the amazing world of Gumball go through something similar. Only this time, it's their own parents they're trying to impress. Click here to watch the episode where the past still hurts and what it teaches, and find out what happens when we stop hiding who we really are.